Welcome back. You're listening because you want to understand important issues, without drowning in information.
And today, we've got something specific that fits right in.
We do. We're going to dive into a piece of legislation, H.R.165. It's already passed the House, now it's over in the Senate.
Right, and on the surface, it might just look like, well, another bill moving through Congress, but it actually touches on some really deep themes: American history, land rights.
Yeah, and the whole ongoing relationship between the U.S. government and Native American tribes. It's all packed in there.
Absolutely. So this bill, H.R.165, it directs the Secretary of the Interior to finalize putting about 40 acres of land into what's called restricted fee status.
And this is for the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe.
Correct. And the land itself, well, it's hugely significant.
It is. It's part of the Wounded Knee Massacre site right there on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota.
So our mission today for this deep dive is really to get a handle on what H.R.165 is trying to do.
Yeah, what does restricted fee status actually mean here, and why this specific land? Why is it so crucial for these tribes?
Exactly. And we're going to stick close to the source today, which is the text of the bill itself. So let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, the title. It's officially the Wounded Knee Massacre Memorial and Sacred Site Act.
That title really says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Straight away, it signals the importance.
Memorial and sacred site. It covers both aspects.
Yeah, remembering that tragic history, but also recognizing the deep spiritual connection that tribes have to this place.
And the bill doesn't hang about, it gives a deadline.
It does. It says the Secretary of the Interior has to get all the necessary actions done within 365 days of the bill becoming law.
Yeah.
So there's a clear time frame.
Okay, now this term you mentioned, restricted fee status, it sounds, well, legalistic.
It is. It's a specific legal term, but thankfully the bill actually breaks it down for us. There are basically 5 key components defined right there in the text.
All right, let's unpack those. What's the first one?
First, and this is fundamental, the tribes will continue to own the land.
Okay. So it's not being taken from them or transferred somewhere else. They keep the ownership.
Precisely. That's the starting point. Second, the bill says this land becomes part of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And this is important. It falls under the civil and criminal jurisdiction of the Oglala Sioux tribe.
Right. So governance. Who makes the rules? Who enforces them on that land? That falls to the Oglala Sioux tribe.
That's right. Big implications for how the land is managed.
Okay, what's number 3?
The third element is protection against transfer. The land can't be sold or, alienated in any way without consent from 2 parties.
2 parties.
Yep. Both the U.S. Congress and the tribes themselves have to agree.
Okay, that's a strong protection. Given the history, the significance, you can see why that would be crucial. Stops it being easily lost or sold off later.
Definitely. It puts up some serious safeguards. Then fourth, there's the tax situation.
Always comes up with land, doesn't it?
Usually does. And here, the land designated under this status will be exempt from state and local taxes.
Okay. Is that typical for land held like this for tribes?
It's quite common for land held in trust or similar statuses. It reflects that unique sort of government-to-government relationship.
Gotcha. So, ownership, jurisdiction, protection from sale, tax exemption. What's the 5th key point?
The 5th one really gets into how the land can be used. It says the tribes can use the land for any purpose that's allowed under their own agreement.
Their own agreement?
Yeah, it specifically references a document called the Covenant between the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, dated October 21st, 2022.
Okay.
And the key part is they can use it according to that covenant without needing further approval from the Secretary of the Interior.
I see. So that gives them quite a bit of autonomy, doesn't it? Based on what they've already agreed between themselves.
It really does. It emphasizes their self-determination in deciding how this sacred site is managed according to their own terms laid out in that covenant.
Okay, so let's quickly recap restricted fee status. Tribes own it. It's part of Pine Ridge under Oglala Sioux jurisdiction. Hard to sell without Congress and tribal consent. No state or local taxes, and land use is guided by their own covenant without needing extra sign-offs from Interior.
That's a pretty good summary, yeah. It paints a picture of this specific status.
Okay, good. Now, the bill talks about tribal land. Let's get specific about the site itself. We know it's 40 acres, roughly. Where exactly?
The bill pins it down. Approximately 40 acres at Wounded Knee. The address is given as Rural County Road 4, Oglala, Lakota County, South Dakota.
And it explicitly says it's within the Pine Ridge Reservation boundaries.
Yes, and it directly links it to the site of the Wounded Knee Massacre of December 29th, 1890. No ambiguity there.
Right. And does land here just mean the ground itself, or does it cover more?
It's comprehensive. The definition includes the surface, yeah, but also subsurface rights, think mineral rights.
Okay.
And also any improvements like buildings or structures, plus any personal property that might be on those 40 acres. It bundles it all together.
And you mentioned a map earlier.
The bill refers to a map, yes, dated October 26, 2022. It's titled Wounded Knee Sacred Site and Memorial Land.
Does it show the exact boundaries?
It says it generally depicts the area of interest. So maybe not survey-level precision in the bill's text itself, but it points to a specific visual reference for identifying the land.
Okay, that helps visualize it. So we've got the land, the status. Let's talk about the tribes involved. Who are they specifically?
The bill is clear.
Yeah.
It's the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, which is based on the Cheyenne River Reservation.
And it mentions that connection.
It does. It highlights that both are constituent tribes of the Great Sioux Nation.
Oh, okay.
And importantly, both were signatories to the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868.
That 1868 treaty, that's a major piece of history in U.S. tribal relations. Mentioning that really adds context, doesn't it?
Huge context.
Huh.
It underscores their long-standing relationship with the U.S., their treaty rights, and also their connection to each other as part of the Great Sioux Nation. These aren't just any two groups. They have this shared history and legal foundation.
Right. And that treaty, like many others, has a complex history afterwards, with lands often being diminished.
Exactly. Which makes placing this particular site, Wounded Knee, into this protected status potentially even more significant when you see it against that backdrop.
Okay, so we understand the status, the land, the tribes. Are there other conditions or rules tied to this land once it's in restricted fee status? You mentioned autonomy, but are there like guardrails?
Yes, there are a few important stipulations laid out. Firstly, the bill says that generally speaking, the land is still subject to federal laws relating to Indian country.
Meaning?
It specifically references parts of the U.S. Code, Title 18, Section 1151, which defines what Indian country means legally, and Title 25, Section 177, which deals with restrictions on alienating, selling, or transferring Indian land. So, even with this special status, it still fits within the broader framework of federal Indian law.
So it's not creating a totally separate legal zone. It's operating within that existing structure, but with these specific conditions applied.
That's a good way to put it. And it reinforces the point about land use again.
Back to the covenant.
Back to the covenant. The bill states the land must be used for purposes permitted by that October 2022 covenant between the two tribes.
So that agreement they made is really the guiding document for the future of the site.
It appears so. It elevates that intertribal agreement as the primary reference for how the land gets used.
What about things already existing on the land, like power lines or access roads? Does this new status wipe those out?
No, the bill addresses that directly. It says any existing private or municipal encumbrances, rights of way, easements, utility agreements, basically anything legally established and in effect when the bill becomes law, remains in effect.
Okay, that's practical. You can't just ignore existing infrastructure or agreements.
Right. It ensures those things aren't disrupted.
Now, a question that often comes up with tribal land is gaming. Casinos, things like that. Does the bill say anything about gaming on this specific site?
It does, very clearly.
Yeah.
It states that, consistent with that covenant between the tribes, the tribal land shall not be used for any gaming activities, as defined by the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act.
So no casino at Wounded Knee under this act. That's explicit.
Explicitly prohibited, based on the tribe's own prior agreement referenced in the bill. It takes that possibility off the table for this specific parcel.
That's a really significant detail clarifying the intended use. Okay, so stepping back for a second. Where is this bill, H.R.165, in the whole process right now?
So as you mentioned, it passed the House of Representatives. That was on January 22nd, 2025.
Okay.
It was received in the Senate the next day, January 23rd, and immediately referred to the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs.
So it's currently sitting with that committee in the Senate. They'll review it, maybe hold hearings.
Exactly. It has to go through the Senate's process now. Committee review, potentially amendments, floor debate, a vote, before it could possibly go to the president to be signed into law.
Right. So past the House is a big step, but it's definitely not law yet. Important to remember.
Absolutely. It's still got hurdles to clear in the Senate.
Okay. So pulling all this together from our deep dive into H.R. 165, What are the main things we should take away?
I think the core idea is this. H.R.165 aims to put a specific, historically vital 40-acre piece of the Wounded Knee site into this unique restricted fee status.
Right.
This status confirms the Oglala Sioux and Cheyenne River Sioux tribes' ownership, puts it under tribal jurisdiction within the reservation, protects it strongly from being sold,
Makes it tax exempt at the state and local level.
and crucially, lets the tribes manage its use based on their own covenant without needing the Interior Secretary's constant approval.
While also respecting existing agreements on the land and specifically ruling out any gaming.
Exactly, it's a package deal.
Really, it feels very focused on empowering these specific tribes regarding this specific, incredibly sensitive site.
I think that's fair to say. It seems designed to grant them more direct control and stewardship over a place of immense historical trauma and sacredness.
Yeah, and understanding the details, the nuances of how this restricted fee status works, it's really important if you're following Native American issues or land rights or historical preservation.
Definitely. Legislation like this, it highlights the complex ways the U.S. is still working through its history and its relationships with sovereign tribal nations. It's about balancing preservation, sovereignty, memory, and just practical land management.
It really is. And thinking beyond just the text of the bill, it makes you wonder, what does this action, putting Wounded Knee into this status, what does it symbolize? In the larger picture of reconciliation between the U.S. government and Native nations, it's a concrete step, placing this land under tribal care in this specific way. But what else might be needed? What does true reconciliation look like beyond acts like this one?
That's a powerful question to reflect on. What does this enable, and what conversations still need to happen?
Yeah, definitely something to think about as this bill moves forward, or even if it doesn't. The issues it raises remain really profound,